I think it was the personal story which I added later on after attending a training conference by Set Squared teaching about Simon Sinek's Start With Why. I actually told my own personal story rather than just giving the business case.
Yeah, looking back on my first pitch, I think this is probably quite rare, but I feel like the first pitch I ever gave was one of the most prepared pitches I gave. We were coached for such a long time. I had people sort of reading a line like halfway through the pitch and testing me to see if I could get to the end. So by the time I got on stage, that pitch, like, I knew it back to front, inside out, and there were other pitches after that where I maybe wasn't quite so prepared and didn't quite go so well. So yeah, the lesson I learned in the very first pitch I gave was practice it so much that you can't get it wrong, because you'll just deliver such a great performance to people. And pitching is theatrical. You want to get people excited, you want to have them sort of anxious and eager to talk to you afterwards. So yeah, I would say treat the pitch as a performance and practice it as much as you can.
The main thing that I wish I knew from the start was how important it was to not follow a script. Because following a script, it's important to know your subject material, but if you have everything written out and if you try really hard to follow things in a step-by-step process, you end up drowning out parts of your personality and little quirks that people end up actually really liking about you. Because I guess with pitching, what you're actually saying is about 10%. The way you make people feel while you're pitching is what they're going to remember about you and whether they're going to want to take the discussion further or not. So being really, really confident and allowing your personality to come out is something that I wish I'd have known from the beginning, because it took, you know, a few months of doing pitches and not really getting anywhere.
I think the first pitch that I did was with the Stephen Alice Taylor Scholarship at King's, where they're trying to give grant funding to the King's 20 entrepreneurs, and that's where I think that the key part of why Stefan is doing that is because he wants to see that his money has impact for the venture. So my mistake back then was that we said our prototype was only 10% in the progress, which was very honest because we feel that we can do so much more. But then when we pitched for his money, we were saying that we would use your money for marketing, and that didn't really make much sense when your prototype was only 10%. And what can I learn from that pitch? In the end, I don't think there was a major mistake being made, but it's somehow trying to understand why investors want to even put money, or why would they want to even put grant funding to your business, because they want to see an actual impact. So it doesn't really make sense where your product isn't settled yet and you're trying to pitch for that money for marketing purpose. So that's probably the major learning point that I got.
I think the story element is really important, because I think when I first started pitching, I really tried to feed as many facts as possible, but that's not necessarily the most important part. It's more important to tell your business story and your product idea through a story or with a bit of background, and then people will engage with you a lot easier, I think. So that's the main tip I think I would try and do myself, is that just always try and tell a story as opposed to just boring facts.
So I wish I had known that not all investors are as obsessed with statistics and revenue as stereotypes suggest that they are. Obviously that's really important and it should be there and they'll check it, but basically I thought my deck had to be hyper commercial, so I crammed it with like stats, graphs, tables, all of it, and the feedback was we wanted to see more about your mission, more about your passion as a founder, and more about the creativity behind the idea.
Try and get the pitch filmed if you can. You're going to put a lot of work into your pitch, and it's great if you can use that video again and again in the future. So when you're replying to things online, when you're replying to emails, if you've got a video of your pitch, that's such a valuable asset.
Inject a bit of personality into the script, you know, have fun with it, let yourself shine through. I
think investors definitely value honesty. For example, there's some startups where I've seen some of the pitches where, for example, they overhype the demand for their product. And when investors come in as an equity investor, they realize actually a lot of traction is not there, and that kind of destroys the relationship between the startup entrepreneur and the investor.
Be confident and think of something happy when you pitch, so it kind of gives that positive vibe to the room, and always do your pitch through a story. So instead of just feeding people really boring facts, try and tell a bit of a story so it becomes a bit more engaging and people actually listen to what you're saying.
Make sure you really look around for events and resources for founders and for pitching. It was through kind of networking events and workshops that I went to that I made the connections that got me to meet the investors that ended up funding my business. So it's really, really worth it. A lot of legwork, but it's super worth it.
You have to have a very clear go-to-market strategy, especially if, let's say, your business idea is quite different and there's very little market validation.